This is Eswatini TV News at 10. I am Notile Tole alongside Zamanzi Manza. First up, here's a look at our headlining stories. Government ministries are expected to receive a consignment of new vehicles before the end of September. The shortage of judges and prosecutors in the country has been attributed to the lack of financial resources. Melusi Dlamini of Lozita Spurs and Sandile Zwane of Mbabane Swallows have been announced the newly co-opted Premier League executive members. The news in detail. The Minister for Works, Honourable Chief Ndlahlaza, has assured the nation that the over 700 new vehicles for government will be available before the end of September 2024. The Minister says all ministries stand to benefit from this purchase. The Minister was speaking when presenting the quarterly reports of the Ministry of Works before the Portfolio Committee in the House of Senate.
During the presentation of the Ministry of Works quarterly report before the Portfolio Committee of the House of Senate by the Minister for Works, Honourable Chief Ndlahlaza, several senators voiced concerns about the maintenance of government houses and infrastructure.
Service delivery.
They also inquired about the delays in road repairs. Senators questioned why some roads remained in despair and highlighted issues related to the upkeep of government properties. In response, the Minister for Works, Honourable Chief Ndlahlaza, assured the nation that the government will soon receive over 700 new vehicles. This acquisition aims to enhance operational efficiency across various government ministries.
Onke aletha tidzingo tawo kwabukuswana yebo ngeke tite njoba matiko bekaletha letidzingo ngakhona kutabe sekuya
The minister also addressed the issue of government housing, noting that none of government houses are currently insured due to budget constraints. This lack of insurance was highlighted as a significant concern given the need of proper maintenance and protection of government properties. The Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Parliament.
The Minister for Justice, Honourable Prince Simelane, has acknowledged that the shortage of judges and magistrates is due to insufficient funding. The Minister explained that financial constraints are also affecting plans to establish a dedicated court for handling gender-based violence cases. The Minister was speaking when presenting the first quarterly report of the Ministry of Justice to the Ministry's Portfolio Committee of the House of Senate.
The Minister of Justice, Honourable Prince Simelane, has reported that the shortage of judges and magistrates is primarily due to insufficient funding. During the Minister's presentation of the quarterly performance report of his ministry to the Portfolio Committee of the House of Senate, the Minister faced several questions and concerns from senators.
Kunavula masango la kunebamfana khona why bangasitsheli lutho ngalabo.
They raised issues regarding the seemingly indiscriminate granting of bail and questioned why the Anti-Corruption Commission has not succeeded in prosecuting corrupt individuals effectively. Senators suggested that the ministry should recognize and celebrate the achievements of Mvula Masango School, which is performing exceptionally well. They also called for action on the issue of ghost employees, emphasizing the need for the ministry to address these problems promptly. The minister's address provided an overview of the current challenges and priorities within the justice sector.
Emajaji even kude kwawona ang-13 nje lelive liphelele sihlala. Njengoba sishilo njalo ukuthi nabo manje nakhona bang-25 kuyashoda nathi siltiko naso sifiso i-judicial enaso sifiso ukuthi wongathi ngabe lokho kwenteka kube liveleni kanti okubona ukuthi naku lokhu umqoka kwelive aqalwe ngako kepha-ke sethemba sihlala ukuthi kumbe kuhambe kulunge ngoba indzaba iba setimalini nesitakhiwe leti inkantolo khona kutoba njalo ukuthi oh nathi letekuteka ukuthi nathi tekuteka ukuthi yonke le ndzaba isetimalini.
The minister was also requested to submit written responses. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Parliament.
The Minister for Finance, Nurwerkenberg, has disclosed preliminary debt figures, stating that as of June 30, 2024, the total public debt amounted to 33.96 billion emalangeni, which is equivalent to 39.12% of the gross domestic product, GDP. The minister says this debt is divided into domestic debt of 17.86 billion emalangeni, representing 20.56% of GDP, and external debt of 16.10 billion emalangeni, which equates to 18.54% of GDP. The minister was represented by the Minister for Housing, Honorable Apollo Mapalala, presenting these figures during the first quarterly report of the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry's Portfolio Committee of the House of Senate.
The Minister for Finance, Honorable Nurwerkenberg, has announced the latest public debt figures, revealing that as of June 30, 2024, the total public debt stands at 33.96 billion emalangeni. The minister, represented by the Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Apollo Mapalala, noted a slight decrease in total public debt by approximately 58.82 million emalangeni from the previously reported 34.01 billion emalangeni.
Eswatini Government Tender Board received 158 submissions that were adjudicated with a total cost of 1,348,695,663 emalangeni na 23 cent isihlalo. Bese ke ga PEU noma Public Enterprise Unit, the unit continued with its monitoring function of public enterprises, and nakhona sihlalo solo tiya chube ma state owned entities noma public enterprises achubeka nekusebenta ngetindlela letehlukene. Nakhona la sebenta kahle kukhona lapho loluphiko lwelitiko la PEU bone khona sinakhona kusafuna kuqiniswa kulawo ma public enterprises.
Ngingabuta ukuthi ingabe lesive siyadini ngale.
Senators raised concerns about the performance of public enterprises units, PEUs, and questioned why the ministry has struggled to prioritize budget allocations effectively. By the time of compiling this report, the minister has not yet given the responses. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Parliament.
Eswatini is in the process of developing a strategy that will inform programs aimed at ensuring that the country keeps its environment clean and safe, thus making a significant contribution to the fight against the effects of climate change. As a means to achieve this, Eswatini Environment Authority, in collaboration with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development and other stakeholders, are meeting to make inputs to the strategy.
The one-day meeting is being held at the offices of Eswatini Environment Authority and is attended by the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Minister of Tinkundla Administration and Development, representatives of municipal councils, amongst others. The head of Environment Assessment, Belusile Mhlanga, says it is imperative for all concerned parties to accelerate efforts in fighting the effects of climate change as they are becoming more severe and affect all humankind across the globe.
It's very prudent that we bring together stakeholders so that we can come together and provide the necessary information that will inform some of the interventions that we are going to implement as a country, especially because we do need to develop even proposal to assess funding so that we can be able to come up with sustainable interventions that are going to address the waste problem. We all know that as a country, there is a serious problem of illegal dumping of waste. We also have regions that do not have environmentally sound facilities for disposing of unwanted waste or the type of waste that cannot be recycled. We also need to invest more on the issue of segregation of waste at source and even the development of reclaiming facilities and eventually recycling facilities. So we are here as different stakeholders where we are trying to bring together the information that we have and also trying to prioritize the country's needs with regard to responding to the waste problem.
Belusile Mhlanga-Feda says since government included safe and clean environment as one of the pillars of the National Development Strategy, the formulation of a comprehensive strategic framework on waste management would enable the country to access local and international financial and technical support. The Eswatini Environment Authority says more stakeholder meetings of this nature will be held throughout the kingdom. Reporting, Mongwa Dube, Nombomelelo Khumalo, Mbabane.
The Chief Police Information and Communications Officer, Pindile Virgati, says the Commissioner of Police, Mano Masango, is appealing to the public who lost their money at Stanlib Investments to come forward and submit their cases for further investigation by the police.
The National Commissioner of Police has made an announcement for any people who were affected, individuals or companies that were affected during some investments with Status Capital, to download a form and complete it from our page, Facebook page, which is Royal Eswatini Police Service. This form can be filled and then sent to one of our regional police headquarters in the 4 regions. We kindly request that this is done as soon as possible so that it could assist in our investigations.
Private sector companies have joined efforts to find innovative financing for green growth by mobilizing investments for the country, and they will be having deliberations during a 2-day Green Indaba, which will start this Thursday. The partner and director at SNG, Grant Thornton, which organized the Indaba, Vusingabinzi, says businesses are affected by climate change and the Indaba is meant to bring interventions.
In as much as we use the traditional financing models, there are other green models that are sustainable and that are being financed by even the developing countries. We've got the green bonds, for instance. We've got carbon credits. Last year, what our greatest takeaway was the issue of carbon credits, which let's use carbon credits as a way of springboarding and financing initiatives. We've got gender bonds, which effectively focus on a certain niche of the market. And then we've got sustainable bonds. Those are all that can be financed in the country.
Mbongiseni Ngambule from the Financial Services Regulatory Authority says the green discussion is important as climate change also affects financial institutions.
It is not just the risk. Every time there's a risk, there's also an opportunity for investment. So we are looking at the pension funds and we're thinking that they are supposed, or they have an opportunity to invest in green projects.
The Director of Meteorological Services, Duduzi Lentlengetwa, says the private sector can play a critical role in mobilizing finances for climate change.
Green economy means that we all need to get together. We're all affected and we all have a role to play. So if the private sector comes on board, it means Eswatini it's one step closer towards achieving our goal of being a resilient and low carbon economy.
The World Bank highlights that the private sector is a critical partner for countries in addressing the green financing gap and confronting fighting climate change and its impact. It states that financing from the private sector will also be critical for meeting the needs for global finance flows. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
There are still sectors that small and medium enterprises have not tapped into, which would play a huge role in their growth and contribution to the economy. This has been said by the president of the newly formed Business Federation of Eswatini, Tulsile Dlamini, during an interview where she detailed the plans they have to uplift the small and medium enterprises, which are considered to be the backbone of the country's economy.
We've seen a gap in that in SMMEs, we've always said they lack finance, they lack this, they lack this. But then we said, no, instead of concentrating on what they lack, first of all, let us look at what cakes are there in the economy, in the cake of the economy, what pieces are there. We are looking at the sectorial part of the economy. Like we are saying, do we have enough SMEs in the construction? Especially young people and women. Do we have enough SMEs in the agricultural sector? which is a very big sector, and it's got its own dimensions. And do we have SMEs enough in the retail, in the manufacturing? And this time we're talking about artificial intelligence. What are our young people doing? Because as we speak in other countries, especially those developed countries, they are now using AI and they are shedding away with labor. Then we are saying to our young people, can't you take that as an opportunity to actually do business also?
Hosia, former Member of Parliament Mduduzi Baqede Mabuza, is presently surviving on fruits, juice and peanuts while in custody. This was presented by his legal representative Mzwandile Masuku during oral arguments at the High Court, where Mabuza wants an order permitting him to continue consuming food from external sources rather than the food provided by His Majesty's Correctional Services.
The application made by former Hosia Member of Parliament Mduduzi Baqede Mabuza to eat his own food while still in prison is before High Court Judge Titus Mlangeni. Mabuza is serving 25-year sentence after being convicted of terrorism and murder. Mabuza's lawyer Mzwandile Masuku tells the court that the reason Mabuza wants to eat his own food is not because he has money. Masuku says the main reason is that Mabuza is ill, therefore he needs to eat specific foods. As stated in the doctor's report, he argues that the prison diet is not compatible with what Mabuza should be eating. Masuku informs the court that it is not true that the correctional authorities are not aware of Mabuza's illness. He says Mabuza has been ill since 2008. He adds that His Majesty's Correctional Services doctor is aware of Mabuza's condition and the medications he receives pass through the hands of the facilities authorities. Masuku further states that another reason for Mabuza's request to eat his own food is that His Majesty's Correctional Services fails to provide proper meals to inmates. He says the law requires the facility to provide meals, but it does not state that inmates must eat the same food as the rest of the inmates. On the other hand, the lawyer representing the government, Sibonginkosi Dlamini from the Office of the Attorney General, argues that allowing Mabuza to eat his own food could create problems for His Majesty's Correctional Services. He says this could lead to other prisoners making similar requests, which could cause security issues as inmates are supervised while eating. He cites Section 69 of the Prisons Act, which states that only inmates allowed to eat their own food are those who have not yet been convicted. He continues to argue that the law requires that all inmates be treated equally and asks the court to dismiss Mabuza's application. Mabuza's lawyer countered by saying it is not true that allowing Mabuza to eat his own food will lead to many other inmates making similar requests. He states that the facility currently allows unconvicted inmates to eat their own food, and this has not caused any problems. He also mentions that inmates are already allowed to purchase items from the canteen without any issues. He concludes by saying the food Mabuza wants to eat is the same food allowed by the correctional regulations. The government lawyer denies that His Majesty's Correctional Services authorities are aware of Mabuza's condition. After hearing the submissions from both parties, Judge Mlangeni reserved the judgment, saying that the lawyers will be notified once the ruling was ready. The judge stated that he still needs to review the case before making a decision. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, High Court.
And now let's have a look at our financial indicators.
Standard Bank. It can be.
And moving on to sports, Chairman of the Premier League of Eswatini, Polycarp Dlamini, has announced the newly co-opted Premier League executive members, being Melusi Dlamini of Lozita, Spurs under the National First Division, and Sandile Zwane of Mbabane Swallows from Premier League. Dlamini went on to confirm that the new MTN Premier League season will kick off next month. Dlamini was speaking in a press briefing in Mbabane.
Emalungu executive lesinawo akhethile lababili.
Newly elected Premier League chairperson Polycarp Dlamini announced the new 2 executive members, who are the latest to join the previous 5 to complete a total of 7 executive members. The 2 co-opted members are Melusi Dlamini of the National First Division side Lozita Spurs, who is going to help the executive with his knowledge through a degree of Bachelor in Commerce. The other member is a well-known face in the football fraternity in the name of Sandile Zwane, also known as Beyond, of Mbabane Swallows. He is a member of the club at Premier League level. With his vast experience as a former Premier League player in early 90s, went on to serve the club and also has worked with different leaders in the modern football.
The league after the trade fair.
On the other note, Dlamini announced that the MTN Premier League season will be kicking off next month after the conclusion of the 2024 Trade Fair Cup that will be launched this coming Wednesday. Dlamini concluded mentioning that a plan of launching a community shield competition that will be played by the winners of the Premier League and the winners of the Ngonyama Cup is already in the pipeline. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
Secretary General of Eswatini Darts Association, Sibusiso Barges, says preparations for the 2024 Darts Region 5 Games are at an advanced stage, with 167 international darts players expected to take part in the tournament. Barges revealed this in an interview with Eswatini TV Sports.
Eswatini Darts Association malungiselelo sewasetulu kakhulu lokusikhuluma nje badlali bayajima. National team.
The Kingdom of Eswatini is set to host the 2024 Darts Region 5 competition from next week. Eswatini Darts Association Secretary General Sibusiso Barges says preparation to host the games are at an advanced stage. Barges says they're expecting around 167 darts players from about 7 countries of the SADC region to take part of the competition. Barges says on the other side of the Kingdom of Eswatini, preparations of the team that is composed of 25 players are also going very well, with the expectation of winning medals. Barges concluded highlighting that the country last hosted the games back in 2005, and hosting this year's edition is indeed a huge milestone that proves the growth of darts in the country.
Le midlalo solo sagcina kuyihosta 2005. To us it's a milestone lesi achieve.
And that's all for now. Before I go, here's a reminder of our headlining stories. Government ministries are expected to receive a consignment of new vehicles before the end of September. The shortage of judges and magistrates in the country has been attributed to the lack of financial resources. Melusi Dlamini of Lozita Spurs and Sandile Zwane of Mbabane Swallows have been announced the newly co-opted Premier League executive members. And we'll leave it there. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team. Many thanks for your company. Take care.
choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, to feel the rush of life overwhelm you, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. You ask, and we give you the royal experience. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. There are but a few places on earth so special, so unique, and so spectacular, where it becomes the rite of passage for the ambitious travelers, the courageous souls, to all have the one and only royal experience. That day when you look deep into your heart and leap into an ancient world so very different from your own,